So in 1976, John Carpenter, with only his second feature film, delivered one of cinema's landmark cult action films, openly fusing Rio Bravo and Night of the Living Dead and placing the story in a crime-ridden Los Angeles suburb. I hadn't watched Assault on Precinct 13 for a long time, and I remember it being right up there with a handful of cult movies that everyone talked about in the schoolyard, to the point where you felt you'd seen it, even though you hadn't. Now, Assault on Precinct 13 is a masterwork of low-budget, tightly wound tension that touches on themes of gun violence, racism, vigilante justice and gang culture, but it's also a huge amount of fun. Let's take a look. So John Carpenter is probably best known for his big franchise creating horror classic Halloween, and became well known as a horror director throughout the late 70s and early 80s, but he also lent his hand to other genres. He was a big Western fan. 1976's Assault on Precinct 13 is essentially a Rio Bravo remake, coming complete with the whole jail siege plotline, although there's a few twists and additions that make it a lot more morally ambiguous than John Ford's classic Western. Now, the film opens with a police ambush that results in the shooting of 6 members of a juvenile gang. This in turn leads to their fellow gang members indulging in some kind of gruesome blood pact to avenge their fallen buddies. And in the meantime, Police Lieutenant Ethan Bishop, played by Austin Stoker, starts the first night on the job, getting a boring assignment, basically babysitting the closing of Precinct 9, as they're moving the station elsewhere.
All you do is answer the telephone and send over any strays. There may be some who still think this is a police station.
And yeah, just quickly, it's actually Precinct 9 in the film, but 13 in the title for some reason. Sounds cooler though. So what ultimately brings all the local scumbags to attack this particular precinct? Well, I'm glad you asked. You see, earlier in the evening, members of that crazy gang, for some reason, decide to murder an ice cream man in broad daylight and follow it up with a harrowing shooting of an innocent young girl. The girl's father, in turn, shoots the gang member responsible and then seeks refuge at the derelict Precinct 9. And so all these events begin to converge and gradually build up towards an evening of ultra-violence. And I've yet to mention the fact that a small bus full of criminals, including the notorious Napoleon Wilson, played by Darwin Joston, makes an unscheduled stop at the station when an inmate gets sick. And therein lies the elevator pitch for Assault on Precinct 13. Cops and criminals unite in a desperate attempt to fend off evil gang members. But it's not all about the boys. Right in the mix, we also have the lovely Laurie Zimmer in one of only 4 film credits she has as Lee, along with Carpenter regular Nancy Keys as Julie. Spoiler alert, it doesn't end well for one of them. So at its core, the whole thing's pretty simple. One group tries to fend off another, but the real meat of the film lies in the fact that the cops and inmates must form an alliance to survive. And the traumatised father of the murdered girl is essentially the bait that the group argue about simply handing over to the hoods.
None of us know who he is, what happened to him, or what he's done. He could be anybody or anything.
And now, of course, the real draw is the titular assault. The film spends a good half of the movie building towards this attack, and the rest of its explosive action. And one of the film's strengths comes from its deliberate and almost excruciating pacing, as the incoming attack is teased as our heroes spy figures gathering in the darkness over the road from the station. Now, for so early in his career, Carpenter delivers pretty solid action once we get there. I know some feel Assault on Precinct 13 has a little bit of an anticlimactic ending, but for me it builds up to a realistically claustrophobic finale. Now, that's not to say everything in Assault on Precinct 13 works well. The cast do seem a tiny bit amateurish, with some very low budget movie dialogue and line reading thrown in there, which, to be fair, kind of adds to its charm.
Hello, Lieutenant.
Hi,
I'm Lee.
Ethan Bishop.
This is Julie.
Hello, Julie.
Hello.
Things are quiet.
For a change.
The film also features another eerie electronic score from Carpenter himself, which is one of his more minimalist works, but adds a good dollop of atmosphere to the scenes. Now, the majority of the characters here are quite likeable, even the inmates, and Carpenter's not afraid to lighten the tension with doses of humour and a bit of witty dialogue thrown in there. The standout in the cast is obviously Darwin Joston, who makes Napoleon Wilson into the friendliest death row inmate you'd probably ever get trapped in a bullet-riddled police station with.
What about you?
I've never had too much faith in anyone coming to my rescue.
Maybe you've been associating with the wrong people.
I've been with policemen for 5 years.
That's enough to grow hair on a rock.
And the scenes he shares with Austin Stoker's police officer are sincere enough to make you believe they'd fight to the death together.
We blow the hell out of everybody in this hallway.
Now, what's going to keep it from blowing the hell out of us?
You hold up that sign in front of the door for cover.
Can you hit it from there?
I got 3 shots. That's enough.
Can't argue with a confident man.
Now, Assault on Precinct 13 was more of a success in the UK and Europe when it was first released, and has since, like many of John Carpenter's films, become a huge cult classic. I have to mention quickly the 2005 remake, which in fairness was a decent action thriller, but was nowhere near as quirky and as charming as its low-budget inspiration. Now, I'll be honest, John Carpenter, for me, has been massively hit and miss over his career, knocking out both mega turds like Ghosts of Mars and John Carpenter's Vampires, to making classics like Halloween and Escape from New York, and of course his magnum opus 1982's sci-fi horror remake The Thing, which is arguably the greatest sci-fi horror movie anyone's ever made or remade. Assault on Precinct 13 sits behind The Thing and Halloween for me anyway in terms of sheer entertainment, and it's a shame it's one of his most underrated films. And it's another great case study of how a talented filmmaker can make a pretty intense and entertaining action thriller with very limited resources. Go check it out.
The very least of our problems is we've run out of time.
It's an old story with me. I was born out of time.